So thank you very much for having me here. This has been fantastic time here in Santiago. It's our first time in South America and I'm having an incredible time. So thank you. My name is Matt Richardson. I come in here from Brooklyn, New York. Just a little bit about me. I'm a resident research fellow at ITP. It's a program at NYU about creative uses of technology. A resident research fellow. And I'm also a contributing editor for Make magazine. As a contributing editor for Make magazine, I look at new technologies and see how we can create projects that show off what's neat about the new technology. And we're also looking out for cool projects that people are making that are new uses of technologies. So if you guys ever make something here or elsewhere, please let me know about it because we'd love to write about it. Today, I want to talk about 3 hardware development boards. The Arduino at the top, the BeagleBone in the middle, and the Raspberry Pi on the bottom. And at Make, we noticed that there are a lot of new boards coming out, and that's why we released this new issue called Board Games, which talks a lot about all the different boards that are out there. I'm talking today just about 3 of my favorites, 3 that I've used a lot in my own projects, and I'm going to talk about why I like each of them and why they're different. I'm going to start off by showing you 3 projects that I made, each one with a different board. The first one is called Fade Away. It was made with an Arduino. It uses a UV laser to write on a glow-in-the-dark or photophosphorescent piece of surface.
Okay, so we're going to go through that.
Yep.
So what's the name?
Fade Away.
Fade Away. Fade Away es como... desvanecerse.
You use an ultraviolet laser to write on a glow-in-the-dark surface. It searches Twitter for tweets that have the phrase fade away in it and writes it on the board. This uses an Arduino, servo motors, and a wireless connection to the internet. The next project that I want to show you, I used the BeagleBone for. It's called the descriptive camera. It acts like a regular camera, except that it outputs text description instead of words. It outputs a text description instead of a picture. It used a BeagleBone inside, and the way it worked is it actually used crowdsourcing to turn the image into a description.
Okay, so now básicamente como hace, usa crowdsourcing, usa a la gente para que se forme la descripción de lo que la imagen tenía.
So it has a webcam inside. You take a picture, it sends it out to the internet where friends of mine are ready to type a description. When they hit enter, it comes out of the front of the camera.
Toma la foto va a internet, los amigos de él ven la foto, describen lo que hay, y luego vuelve al aparato y de esa forma sale la descripción de lo que se puede hacer.
The next project I want to show you uses the Raspberry Pi.
Ya, el próximo proyecto es Raspberry Pi.
I bike around Brooklyn a lot, and I wanted to be able to show information about my ride on the street ahead of me.
Recorro mucho Brooklyn en bicicleta, entonces quería tener algo que pudiera buscar información sobre, mandar información de todo mi recorrido.
I thought the Raspberry Pi would be perfect for this because it has a video output on it.
Y la Raspberry Pi me pareció excelente para esto porque tiene video, salida de video.
So I attached a projector to my handlebars, just like a headlight.
Entonces puse un proyector en el manubrio, en el lugar de la lámpara.
This is me bringing it outside and trying it for the first time. In the beam of the headlight, it's showing my speed. It can show other kinds of information too. It could show you the next street, calories burned, and text messages received. And I'm usually a much better cyclist. I'm usually not doing this. I just have the camera right here. So people always ask me, out of all these boards out of there, which one is best? And if you look at a single specification, you might be able to find out which one is best, but you really have to look at the whole picture. If you have a car with a really, really awesome engine, but the doors are falling off, it's no good. So when people ask me which board is best, I usually ask them, well, what do you want to do? So let's take a look at some of the specifics though. First of all, the Arduino is different from the BeagleBone and Raspberry Pi because it's a microcontroller and it's not a full computer. With the BeagleBone and Raspberry Pi, you can hook up a monitor, keyboard, mouse, you can plug it into the internet and use it just like a computer. And even though the Arduino is technically a computer, it doesn't work in that same way. It's not as powerful. If you're making something and you want to build something, you're going to want a lot of inputs and output pins to connect things to your device. Raspberry Pi doesn't have as many as BeagleBone and Arduino, but it's still very capable. BeagleBone is the clear winner in terms of having lots of inputs and outputs. If you want to work with sensors, I would suggest using something like the BeagleBone or the Arduino to start. As for video, the Arduino doesn't have a video output as I mentioned before, but Raspberry Pi and BeagleBone both do. I like that the Raspberry Pi has a composite analog out because you can use old television sets and turn them into something new. The Raspberry Pi doesn't have any onboard storage to store your code, but you just put in an SD card and that's how you'll store stuff on it. Arduino and BeagleBone both have onboard flash storage to upload your code in your projects too. The BeagleBone and Raspberry Pi both have networking built in through the Ethernet. But you can also add a USB Wi-Fi adapter if you want to connect wirelessly. And in this chart, I'm showing you really what the boards have out of the box, not with any extra attachments on them.
En este chart, por ejemplo, lo que tiene el calculador o la computadora, como viene en caja, sin entrar en detalles de los diferentes componentes que debemos agregar.
For instance, there's a version of the Arduino that does have an Ethernet cord on it, or if you have an Arduino that doesn't have it, you could put an attached shield on it.
Hay versiones de Arduino que tienen internet o una conectada a internet, o hay shields que uno le puede agregar que le dan esa capacidad.
I'm going to talk about the specific boards now and what I like about them.
Voy a hablar de los controladores de forma independiente y qué me gusta de cada uno.
I like the Arduino a lot because it's really great for beginners. It has an amazing out-of-box experience.
Me gusta el Arduino, es que es muy bueno para principiantes, tiene una muy buena experiencia out of the box, o sea, así como a primera vista.
One thing we shouldn't take for granted about the Arduino is a very simplified development environment. There's just one main way to load up code and a very, very simple software development tool that you'll use to do it.
Exacto. El Arduino lo que tiene es una interfaz de desarrollo muy simplificada, muy simple, que es the last part.
It is, what did I say? I don't even remember.
El Arduino lo que tiene es una única manera de poder subir el código, muy simple y muy sencilla.
And as you'll see with the other two boards, Raspberry Pi and BeagleBone, they have other development environments you can use, but there are so many choices, there's not a single way to do things.
Los otros dos tienen diferentes entornos como para poder programar y poder trabajar. No hay una única sola manera de hacerlo. En el caso de Arduino es más el processing y el processing.
One of the huge advantages to Arduino is the enormous community for support and sharing.
Una de las ventajas más grandes que tiene Arduino es la tremenda comunidad que hay para soporte y compartir.
If there's something you want to know how to do, you can probably search for Arduino and that, and you'll find an answer.
Si buscas algo para hacer, probablemente puedes googlear Arduino, lo que quieres hacer y probablemente vas a encontrar la solución.
That's starting to become true for Raspberry Pi, and it's not true at all for BeagleBone.
Eso empieza a ser un poco una realidad para Raspberry Pi, pero no es así para el videojuego.
And if you want to make a project that lots of other people are going to make themselves and maybe make their own versions of, you probably want to use Arduino because a lot of people are familiar with it.
Si quieres hacer un proyecto común que mucha gente lo puede hacer o replicar, lo mejor es usar Arduino.
I'm going to talk about Raspberry Pi now. This is the newest board out of all the ones I'm talking about.
Ahora voy a tocar Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi is also good for beginners.
Es bueno para principiantes.
It's a full single board computer, as I mentioned before. You can connect USB devices to it, keyboard, monitor, mouse.
Es en sí una computadora, puedes conectar vía USB, el teclado, el mouse.
And with that, the fact that it's a single board computer, you get the advantages of a file system, timekeeping, network management.
Claro, por el hecho de que es una computadora, tenés sistemas de archivo, timekeeping, ¿sí?
Yeah.
Cuestión de tiempo y
Network management.
y manejo de redes.
But there are many ways to do. There are many ways to do a single thing. Now, this is good for people who are like hardcore hackers and they know how they want to do something. But if you're not sure how you want to do something or the best way to do something, it can be difficult because there are so many ways to do everything.
Tiene como ventaja, tiene que se puede hacer las cosas de muchas maneras, pero también es una ventaja. Si sos un hacker o alguien que quiere o que le gusta entrar muy profundo, es bueno, pero si sos un principiante, realmente se puede complicar.
There are 2 million Raspberry Pis out in the world right now, so there's a huge community of support growing.
Hay más de 2 millones de Raspberry Pis en el mundo, así que hay una gran comunidad que le da soporte.
I talked about the networking, so I'm going to jump down to video output. This is an important one.
Voy a hablar ahora, ya hablé de networking, así que voy a hablar directamente de la salida de video, que es muy importante.
Does anyone here use open frameworks? Open frameworks? Open
No,
framework.
no usa open frameworks, ¿no?
Open frameworks is a graphical development environment so that you can draw things and manipulate graphics and video.
Open frameworks es una interfaz de desarrollo gráfica donde podés prácticamente trabajar respecto a la.
It's very, very powerful and some beautiful creative graphical interactive things are made with it. Sorry.
I'm drunk for last night. Es una
Frameworks community has really embraced Raspberry Pi so that you can, if you want to make something that uses a screen and has physical components, you may want to look at using the Raspberry Pi.
La comunidad de los profesores ha puesto mucho hincapié en el Raspberry Pi, entonces si quieres hacer este tipo de interfaces entre cosas físicas y visuales, está como muy desarrollado.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about the BeagleBone now. The BeagleBone can run Open Frameworks, but it doesn't quite have the support that Raspberry Pi does.
El BeagleBone tiene también soporte de Open Frameworks, pero no de la misma manera que el Raspberry Pi.
That bike headlight I made was written in Open Frameworks.
Esa lámpara de luz que hizo con el proyector está hecha con Open Frameworks.
The BeagleBone Black.
El BeagleBone negro.
The BeagleBone Black is a little bit more powerful than the Raspberry Pi.
Es un poco más potente que el Raspberry Pi.
It has lots of inputs and outputs.
Muchas entradas y salidas.
And the inputs, it has analog input, so it can read analog sensors directly.
Y tiene muchas entradas análogas que puede leer sensores. Y la Raspberry Pi puede hacer a sensor de IoT.
You know analog in.
No tiene, claro, la Raspberry Pi no tiene entradas análogas.
You can add you can add hardware to your Raspberry Pi to get analog input, but BeagleBone Black has it out of the box.
Uno lo puede agregar a la Raspberry Pi, pero el BeagleBone lo tiene out of the box, o sea, lo tiene listo desde el mismo.
And you know, I was going to bring the boards with me to show you something here, but if you actually look at the boards themselves, you'll see that the BeagleBone Black is probably designed, the physical design is a little bit more friendly towards expansion.
Si uno mira, les quería mostrar no lo tiene, pero si uno mira el BeagleBone hacia simple vista se ve que está bastante mejor pensado desde el punto de vista de diseño para expansión.
Just like our Arduino has shields, BeagleBone Black has capes that get popped right on top.
Como el Arduino tiene shields, el BeagleBone tiene gates.
And there are expansion boards for Raspberry Pi, but they kind of wobble and they're weird and they don't fit well.
Hay expansiones para Raspberry Pi, pero son como difíciles de poner, difíciles de pensar para eso.
And of course, the BeagleBone Black does have video output, and you can do lots of interesting things with it, but I think we have a long ways to go before it becomes easy to use it.
El BeagleBone tiene video output, pero es bastante todavía complicado de usar, entonces todavía hay mucho bastante cargo que recorrer para que pueda ser friendly o amigable.
So if you're kind of just looking for what the bottom line is here,
¿Quieren ver un poco el resumen de esto?
I think the Arduino is really the best for beginners if you just want to tinker around.
Arduino, excelente para principiantes, si ustedes quieren comenzar o hacer algo simple.
If you want to hack, if you want to build, if you're more of an advanced coder, if you want to run motors and make a 3D printer, you may want to check out the BeagleBone Black.
Si quieres algo más interesante, usar motores o quieres hacer una impresora 3D, tienes que pensar en console o entrar bien profundo en código, piensen en un Black.
And if you want to learn about how computers work, if you want to learn about how you can build your own operating system, I recommend the Raspberry Pi.
Si quieren aprender más de cómo funciona una computadora, si quieren tratar de hacer su propio sistema operativo, les recomiendo el Raspberry Pi.
In fact, the University of Cambridge has a tutorial uploaded about how to write your own operating system in assembly.
El Cambridge tiene un tutorial específico de cómo crear o desarrollar tu propio sistema operativo.
And as I said before, if you're looking for building things with hardware, and hardware, what you're able to attach is the most important thing to you, I would say stick to these two boards, the BeagleBone and the Arduino.
Si lo que quieren es interfacear hardware, si lo que quieren es conectar hardware, piensen en estos dos primero.
And now there are a few different variants on all these boards, and I just want to show you some of them.
I want to, what is it?
There are a few different variations on
Hay
it.
algunas variaciones de estas tarjetas que les voy a mostrar.
One is the really bare bones board.
Este es como el más simple, digamos, la tarjeta más simple.
It's an Arduino compatible board that's $9 US
Esta
dollars.
es una tarjeta Arduino compatible que cuesta alrededor de $9.
And what's great is that if you don't need a power supply, you can just snap that off and you can make it even smaller.
Claro, si no necesitas una fuente de poder, podés sacar eso y queda incluso más pequeñito.
Another one of my favorite boards is the Teensy USB.
Otro de mis favoritos es el TT-USB,
$16.
$16.
Yep. And it's also Arduino compatible, but adds in a lot of extra features.
También Arduino compatible y agrega un montón de funcionalidades.
I use this for a project called the Awesome Button.
Usé esto para un proyecto de Awesome.
Awesome Button.
Awesome Button. Sí, usé esto para un botón maravilloso.
It had
Awesome.
this has the ability to act like a keyboard or mouse.
Este botón tiene la posibilidad de usar como un teclado o un mouse.
So I programmed it to to output a random synonym for the word awesome because I say the word awesome way too much.
Se lo programé para que haga una persona que diga la palabra awesome porque usa la palabra awesome demasiado.
There are a few boards that are coming out soon that I also want to show you. This is the Arduino tray. It's a collaboration between Texas Instruments and the Arduino team. It's the same team that made the BeagleBone Black. So this is like taking a BeagleBone Black and an Arduino and putting them together. Thank you. I think this board, I worked on an early design of this board, and I think that this has a lot of potential. It's the multimedia Arduino is what I call it.
Trabajé en el diseño original de esta tarjeta y creo que tiene mucho potencial. Específicamente para multimedia.
Multimedia.
Es el Arduino multimedia.
The other board is made by Intel and it's also Arduino compatible. It's called the Galileo. It has an Intel chip on it, but it also has the Arduino expansion pins. So those are just some of the boards that are out there. There are many, many, many more, and we go into a lot of them in this. In fact, we barely scratch the surface of this. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is the only copy I have.
Pero podemos entrar.
Do you have any experience with keyboards and
No, I don't have direct.
you mentioned them not much in the magazine.
No, yeah, there are a lot out there, and we're trying our best to cover as much as we can and get the right amount of depth out of them. The UDO is another one that we are interested in but haven't really had the time to delve into.
Classic mode and that kind of companies that are bringing more boards, you know? And what's kind of your view on like the making movies is actually going to eventually involve in the proper industry, like the foremost industry? You know what I mean?
No, I'm sorry.
Do you see any path between this kind of technology, like home-based technology, and then applying them into proper industry, you know, like mechanical industry or any kind of
Like Arduino, I think it's already.
Yeah.
It's already happened. I mean, seeing those boards into a more industrial or product based. La pregunta era si vos piensas un camino, el camino de que esta tecnología esté entrando en la industria más formal.
The Arduino's been around long enough that we've already seen examples of an Arduino project turning into a product.
Claro, la verdad es que hasta tanto tiempo ya estamos viendo ya ejemplos de productos que tienen Arduino ya como producto. Bueno, las impresoras 3D, de 3D printers, como ejemplo.
Absolutely.
Las impresoras 3D como Maker, utilizan todas esas cosas.
And there are, sorry, you finished?
No, bien.
And there are also examples of people who actually are working in product design now who will, before doing anything else, take the Arduino or take the Raspberry Pi, work with that first, and to kind of get an idea, get a prototype going before they get the real thing going.
Claro, y está haciendo mucho para prototipar
you know the Fitbit? The little Fitbit, it's like a pedometer that you wear?
Pero si es el Fitbit,
This was prototyped with Arduino.
eso fue preguntado por la popular.
I have four questions. Tengo cuatro preguntas. Recently I bought my first really handmade fair. Me compré el propio Arduino Maker Fair. I wanted to know what is open framework. Yes, open frameworks.
¿Qué es open framework?
I didn't understand.
It's a library for C++ for graphical programming.
Es una librería en C++ para la programación gráfica.
Oh, sorry.
El distinto de OpenCV.
Sí, Open Frameworks es distinto que OpenCV.
So OpenCV is included in Open Frameworks for doing computer vision stuff. Open Frameworks also includes things like HTTP libraries and all this extra stuff that you're going to need.
Open Frameworks también incluye una librería HTTP y otras cosas que no vamos a hacer.
It makes using C++ just a little bit easier, and it gives you creative tools to use C++.
Hace que puedas usar más fácilmente C++.
I can't recommend Open Frameworks enough. It's an incredible tool.
No podría recomendar más usar Open Frameworks. Es increíble.
Siguiente pregunta. Google has memory expansion in comparación de memoria de Google because it says only 2 gigabytes. Porque dice solamente 2 gigabytes.
Tiene expansión de memoria has expansion while it only says like 2.
Yeah, that for that I was referring to just the onboard memory, and it has a micro SD slot, so you could put a 32 gig card in there. Yep.
Se puede expandir porque tiene un micro SD.
And actually, I didn't make this point when this came up before, is that both BeagleBone and Arduino will work right out of the box. You can plug them into your computer and just get started. Raspberry Pi, it's not quite there yet. You have to format a card.
When do you recommend Google to start creating a 3D printer if it's already using Arduino Megas on the actual
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it depends on if you want to be able to add features to your 3D printer, like a more complicated interface, maybe a touch screen, maybe it has network connectivity. If you're looking for a file system, you'll want to use that. But I mean, both could work really well, I think.
Los dos pueden funcionar perfectamente. Si querés cosas un poco más complicadas, como un sistema de archivo, o display, o video, te hace la vida más fácil usar el video. Pero los dos funcionan perfectamente.
I think that's my last question. Esa fue mi pregunta y yo empezamos a decir.
Okay. Thank you.
¿Hay más preguntas?
And you can feel free to contact me if you have any other questions. I'm available.
¿Seguro? ¿Ninguna pregunta más?
Thank you for translating.
No, disculpa por mi estado. Nosotros tuvimos la feria, como saben, ayer, y estamos todos medio cargados.